We're attempting. Hi. This is part 2 of the show, and we had technical difficulties in the earlier part of the evening. Now, it's really odd when somebody's on their own cell phone, like Don was, and you start hearing numbers. Like, I'll tell you what the sound was like. Hold on. He had someone was making that sound while he was on a connected call. It didn't make any sense. So I'm going to play part of this video for you, and then I'm going to orchestrate the stag hunt in politics. It's a concept that I would like to discuss. It has to do with, let's say you're on, I'm just going to tell you now. Let's say you're on the border of Russia and the Ukraine, and Russia's going all out for the stag. But most countries do not negotiate like that. They start out little. They start going for the rabbit. The rabbit is a small short-term goal that they think is feasible that the other country will concede to. So let's say Russia lines up on the border before they even enter the country of the Ukraine. And they say, we want access to our old nuclear silos. We want access to your cobalt mines. We're posing a physical threat to you, and we would like to negotiate what we can get from you before we take military action. Now, sometimes it's not that blatant. You know, like there'll be talks first, and then there'll be skirmishes, and then there'll be disagreements. But basically the thing is going for the short-term reward. So pretend this is the rabbit, my lipstick, and this is the stag, the water. You're not going to get the stag by throwing out all the, as Trump would say, all the cards on the table immediately. You're going to get it by throwing out little concessions. And if the Ukraine looked at the big picture and decided, okay, well, we can hold Russia off for 2 or 3 years by ourselves without international intervention, then we might let them have access to a city in the Black Sea. We might let them have some of our grain that we produce every year. But the whole idea is to lure the other side and to obtain what you want without taking military risks. Now, if you go in there and rush in and use all your men and they die, then you're not going to win the battle. So I'm just going to defer to this video now.
Nathan Capehart, associate editor for the Washington Post. Great to see you both. Yeah. So you were both watching, of course, everything at the White House today in the meeting between Presidents Trump and Zelensky. We've talked about it a lot today, but I do want to play for you a little bit of the interview we know President Zelensky gave soon after that meeting. He sat down with Fox News and Brett Baier, and Baier asked him if Zelensky thought that the public spat there served Ukraine in any way. Here's what Zelensky said.
I mean, this is not good for both sides anyway, and I'm very open, but I can't, change our Ukrainian attitude to Russia, and I don't want they kill us for us. This is very, very clear that Americans are the best of our friends, Europeans are the best of our friends, and Putin with Russian, their enemies. And it doesn't mean that we don't want peace. We just want to recognize the reality.
Jonathan, what did you think when you were watching this unfold in the White House? And what do you make of the way Zelensky's talking about it now?
I thought the low point for America on the world stage was the Trump-Putin press conference in Helsinki in 2017, when the president of the United States sided with the president of Russia against his own national intelligence apparatus. What we saw in the Oval Office was travesty, horrendous despicable. There aren't any words to describe what we watched, where we saw a vice president who's never been to Ukraine lecture a wartime president who was clearly summoned to the White House to humiliate him on the world stage, either on behalf of or for the benefit of Vladimir Putin in Russia. And look, I give President Zelensky major points for standing up for himself, for standing up for his nation, and standing up for his people. He is in there fighting for America's backing, which, I'm sorry, it should not even be in doubt, given the stakes that are involved and who he is trying to protect his people from.
David, from that Helsinki meeting in 2018.
So I'm going to stop this. Apparently, while Trump was in his first office at one of the European summits, he threw a curveball defending Russia. Now, I want to make one thing straight. Trump does not know the history of Russia. He has no clue. Because when Russia and the Allied powers divided Germany after the war, guess what happened? It was America, France, and Britain. They got 3/4 of Germany. And they helped facilitate their re-strengthening of the country. But what did Russia do? They took the fourth corner of Germany. They created the Berlin Wall, and they separated the Germans from the West Germans. And they persecuted. The East Germans ended up becoming de facto Russians and subservient to Russians. They did not think about the interests of a defeated nation who was annihilated by their own leader, or what they could do to strengthen family ties or rebuild society and reconnect human lives. What they did is they took their godless state values and they imposed them on the East German and pretty much try to make them into efficient robots, the same way they did with the collective farming. Now, you have to understand that Russia took things too far under Stalin later, too, that they did not have to take socialist concept and turn it into something evil where they purged and killed people. But they were harsh with the East Germans, and they were harsh with their own people. And they did not properly serve the East Germans who they were supposed to mentor and protect. Secondly, Russia in recent years has been predatory. They were predatory in Azerbaijan. They were predatory in Syria in the last 15 years, that Bashar al-Assad destroyed his own country, and Russia supplied all the tanks and all the hardware in order for him to do that. And plus Russian special ops were in there destroying the country. Russia did not take one single immigrant. Okay, good. I have a caller. Hi, John.
Is this Jane again?
This is the Jane Hoffman Hour. I tried calling Don and he didn't pick up, which is just as well, because he had a hacker in his phone, and this is the sound it made. While he was talking on the phone, he got this sound.
Really?
Yeah.
I know you can hack a phone.
Supposedly he said there's a way, and then he blamed white people.
Oh, it is our fault for everything, really.
So anyways, he shut his phone off for a while, and he was supposed to call back in 10 minutes ago, but let's fast forward. I was doing a Russian history lesson on their history of aggression. I've already read all the Ukrainian history since 453 AD. And now you can talk about what you want, but we were talking. I want to hear a conservative's take on how you perceived Donald Trump and J.D. Vance with Zelensky.
Well, it was quite a rather entertaining exchange. One thing too with the backstory is this conflict. Is it, as you know by studying it, it's not like a 10-year deal or even a 50-year deal. This is hundreds, thousands of years. It's kind of the way the world is. Middle East or North America with the Indians. It just China with the Mongols. When you really think about it, every place there's been wars and people fighting over land and territories. And most of them are centuries old, families old, blood feud old situations. And, like we think our border thing is so unique. And then you go to Hamas and Israel, and then you go over to China with the Mongols, and going into Pakistan and India, and then you go to Russia, they going back and forth, Germany trying to conquer the world, Roman Empire, on and on it goes. It's the history of the world. People conquer, like Napoleon or Alexander the Great, they expand, and then the people of the homelands revolt and overthrow them. And sometimes the takeover sticks, like in America, we took over this land. You go to South America, like in Brazil, they speak Portuguese. You go up you go higher up, and they speak Spanish because the conquistadors, came in and conquered. And we revolted from England. So,
yeah, that's a good.
This isn't something that can be just resolved. Oh, we're going to fix this. This will go on and on into the millennia between Ukraine, Russia, and the other associated, Crimea. This is not a new thing.
Yeah, the Crimean thing has rotated about 3 different times. I would like to recap what you said. During World War II, when the Germans attacked the Ukraine, they killed 7 million Jews and other townspeople. And then when Stalin got in there also from 1936 to 38, he purged his own people in the Ukraine, including unlikable minorities. And then, as I stated, there were at least the Russians, the Soviets, and the Ukraine, they were like a relationship. They stuck together for a while, then they broke up, then they stuck together, then they broke up. And in 1991, 92% of the nation voted to separate from Russia, but they still had 4 major nuclear silos in the country. So then they had to figure out, well, Russia has all the passwords. How are we going to work this out? And at the time, Russia and the Ukraine made a deal that they would work it out, and that Russia could have access to those silos if they had to, but they prefer that it got diffused because it would create a future problem. And the major part of the war, then there's been 2 segments recently. Since 2014, there was another Ukrainian-Russian problem in which Crimea got usurped by Yanukovych. And then in 2019, after the Sochi Games, Putin reinvaded the Ukraine again.
Right, and when you start looking at the history, like it's one of those things when you start tracking it, like in 400 AD and 1000 AD, and literally every 20 to 50 years, someone revolts, overthrows king. It just goes on. Like you can't even. It's not like, oh, here's Rome, the Caesars, and we got 10 of them, and then this is how it went down. It's just like it's back and forth. So many regimes, so many new changes, names, and you got the Cossacks, you got the Russians, or the
and the Tsar, the royal family was mixed in there too, and even back like between 400 AD and 1000 AD, the Swedes were in there dominating the land, and so were the Mongols. So then there was also a pact between Lithuania, Poland, and Ukraine they were all united at one point, and then they split up.
Right. So now, so fast forward to like right now. So the situation. You had Zelensky coming in. He needs to get money. He needs to get arms to keep this thing going. And there's a certain respect to his bravery because he did jump in there. And I mean, if it's kind of life or death if he loses. People who get conquered by Putin get sick in prison, or accidents happen, and they're dead. So, I mean, he is gallant in that way, and he took a fight that most people thought wouldn't last, but a few days, and they held their own ground. So the problem is, now he's suffering. It's kind of a war of attrition.
Well, they just passed 3 years. They just passed 3 years.
Yeah, so Putin knows if he just keeps going at the same pace, they're going to run out of bodies on the Ukraine side because Putin has more bodies. He's got just, about as much firepower, so they just keep going back and forth, and then we're just throwing in, bullets and missiles and stuff, and it's going to start getting hairier and hairier. So the problem is Trump came in on this whole package of, I'm going to cut down, slash all this wasted money. We're going to America first. We're not going to be, putting all our resources into other countries. So the issue is this, and I think Trump, as brutal as it may sound, he framed everything pretty much. He said, you don't have the cards. He told everybody. They had this press conference, and they're going back.
I did hear that line. Yes, I heard the line.
It was kind of like one of those. It was kind of like a friendly little get together, and they're kind of explaining we're going to do this mineral deal, and we're going to try to get work out a settlement here. We'll get a ceasefire, and this went on for I listened to the whole thing. It went about 45 minutes or so, and there was 2 or 3 times they said one more question, and they'd answer the question, and they would keep going and going, and then it was kind of getting close to wrap up because they wanted to go sign the deal. Adjourn, and someone started. They asked a question, and Zelensky jumped on into we don't want a ceasefire. We want a deal, and we want we can't trust because a ceasefire we can't trust Putin. And then JD kind of started jumping in there. And Trump too. They kind of hit with the you need to let's get a deal, let's get peace. And he say no, we can't trust him. You don't know what it's like to fight, blah blah blah. The point is, at that point they said you're disrespecting it. Don't you want peace? And Trump hit hard with a couple things. He said listen, you're not going to win this battle. You're millions of people are dying here. Take the deal. Like if I don't support you, it's over. It's not going to work. And so what he's saying, here's hopefully a point.
I'm gonna let you finish, and then I'm gonna give you what I think went wrong. Go ahead.
The issue that Zelensky comes into is he's gotten 185 billion. Now Trump said 350. He likes to overstate stuff, but I looked at some conservative. Alternate sources, it's roughly, like if you Google it, it's roughly estimated, 175 to 185 billion dollars. Okay, 185 billion dollars. And he's got people, they can't account for half of the stuff. They say, where's it going? And he doesn't give an answer, and we've given it. It's not a loan. It's not a repayment. We're not getting anything. We're just throwing a lot. It's like having a girlfriend just spending all your money, and she wants to get in a fight with, someone, and she's like, go over there and fight him. And it's like I've been in the situation. The gals go like, that guy insulted me. Go fight him. And it's like wait a second. Why don't we just go to another table? Let's just call it a night. It's like I'm going to go over there and get beat up, or there's going to be a problem. And he wants us to keep throwing, let's throw some real missiles in there. Let's start launching. I think his people pressure. He's used to just throwing the money to whoever's promoting him or pushing him. And now Trump's saying there's no more money.
Okay, could I step in?
Let me just finish this point. If there's a ceasefire, there's no need to give them more money. They don't need to give them more weapons. And what he's saying is, I need to keep the money, 185 billion. That's a very expensive girlfriend. He's saying no, we're not going to do anymore, and we're going to cut it off. And the first thing he did after he left, he went over to England and UK and got $2 billion from them. That's not going to last him. The point is, it's not going to go on. Trump said, "Don't you want peace? Let's just stop it right now. Like if we shut it down, we're going to put businesses over there with the mineral rights. They're not going to." Putin's not even going to go in there and jeopardize us getting involved in a war. And the point is, Zelensky, he wants to keep it going. He wants on his terms. He wants NATO. He wants all his land back. He's not going to get it back, and he wants the money to keep flowing. And Trump's saying, cut your losses, just get a ceasefire, and then work out the the security and all that stuff. And Zelensky's not, he's going to die on that hill. It's like, I'm not going to do that. Go ahead.
So just my general impression, I've covered some of it in previous episodes. These were the main points I was irritated about. Now, Zelensky is fully aware that there's a new president that doesn't share the values of the former president, that isn't willing to just hand money over. At the beginning of the discussion, Zelensky was just trying to be straight with them. Like, this is the situation. Russia's definitely our enemy. We don't perceive them as potential friends. They have killed our people. We have sacrificed, to try to maintain our land, and we cannot achieve like a simultaneous goal with them at this time without 3 or 4 other world powers involved. So both him and Trump and even the EU understand Vladimir Putin's disagreement with having the Ukraine, who used to be called the breadbasket of Europe or Russia. Putin does not want them in the EU. He never did. Even Yanukovych and the other Yanukovych guy, there was another one with the same name, similar name. None of them, one of those presidents back in the early 2010s didn't think Ukraine could ever join the EU. So realistically, they knew what they were up against. The thing that upset me right inside the Oval Office at that giant moment of truth is I don't think Trump should have said he's going to start World War III, because he was already being attacked by Russia over 3 years. He's just trying to bail his way out, and he's not trying to. He didn't ask Europe to come and join with special forces or American boots on the ground. Maybe he wanted that, but he didn't state it. And he's in a position of defense still. He's not in a position of offense. So I don't think that Trump should have told him, you're going to start World War III. That's not his objective. He doesn't want that. And then thirdly, it wasn't even Trump or Vance that pissed me off the most. It was that pundit, that Trump administrator in the back room, and said, well, why didn't you at least wear a suit? Like, if a Saudi Arabia dude came in there with that thing around their head, the red checkers, and their long robes, or if like a female Indian president came in there, like, I just thought that was really tacky. Like, they treated him like a kid in a middle school principal's office. Like, well, the least you could do is say thank you. Well, he was in there. He's trying to make his points. He wasn't thinking about insulting anybody. The only time that he really offended Trump is when he said there's an ocean between us, and you guys don't feel the discomfort because of you're not in proximity of the problem. And then Trump said, don't tell me how I should feel. So just all that negative bantering was a really bad look.
Oh, it's true. However, the problem, besides he was trying to speak English instead of getting an interpreter. If he had an interpreter, first of all, the language would have been translated smoother. Second of all, you have to wait. So instead of arguing, you have to think, okay, what do I want my interpreter to say? So it diffuses it a little bit, right? It's hard to have a knockdown, drawn out fight with someone through an interpreter, right? Like
from my understanding, he knows English pretty well. No, I could be wrong.
Right, but he said a few things in the heat of the moment that came off sharp. He said like we're alone and you're gonna feel the pain. It's like what he's trying to say is there's no American soldiers there fighting, so we're on our own on the fight on the ground. But the people can go with, well, he should have been more sensitive or this or that. He could have shut it down. He didn't have to go into the I don't want to cease. He was trying to negotiate in front of everyone. See, like he's going to say, we can't have a ceasefire with Putin because we can't trust him. He's a jerk. He's evil. He's brutal. Yeah, everyone knows that. It's like, then to say, we need to go talk some more about it. He's trying to say, to agree, we need to have a peace agreement. And Trump is saying, stop the fighting. Like, don't you care that 2,000, your men every week get murdered? Stop the bloodbath, and then we can start to work out details. But the point is, he tried to, like when you're talking in front of someone, and like with my say, I have a girlfriend. You're like, yeah, we're going to get married this weekend. She's looking, going, we need to talk about this. We just agreed that you gave me a ring, right? He's trying to hash out bigger, and JD's saying you're disrespecting it. Like he said, didn't you tell him we need to go litigate this and not do this in front of the cameras?
Like she's blurting out that she's gonna get married, and then he's saying, well, maybe scale back a little.
So Vance said, let's litigate this behind, not in front of everyone, and Zelensky doubled down on it. He didn't say, yeah, let's we're not quite there. Let's go talk. They were going to sign the deal before, come out and announce, hey, we signed a deal. And Trump likes it more, dramatic, like, here we are, we're going to go in there and we're going to sign the thing together and everyone sees it. And on the moment, Zelensky decided, I really think, I could be wrong, he wants the money.
I didn't even really listen.
No more money coming.
I didn't really even hear much about. I heard before the meeting they were going to sign an economic plan, like that our America would get part of the rare minerals of some sort as a collateral.
Like we have lots of oil, but we don't have the minerals. Things that we use with computer chips and with with the recharge. Like the lithium and that kind of stuff, and cobalt and nickel and all these other things that they're very rich in. So the point is, I also think that Zelensky didn't want to give those things up. If he said, okay, let's just do a ceasefire, I'll recoup your money. Like signing that would give us money in the sense of resources. So he doesn't want to do that. He wants to hold an open card. He wants to be in charge of the money and the war and how it's going to go. He's like, okay, we can't take a ceasefire from Putin because I don't trust him.
Can I read something to you? It's only 2 sentences. I know what you're saying, and if I was in Zelensky's position, I would offer maybe the joint cultivation of certain minerals, but as a result of the activity that happened in the White House Friday, the Norwegian fuel company Haltback Bunkers called the backstabbing of Zelensky in the White House the biggest crap show ever presented on live TV. They refused to supply American ships with fuel docking in Norwegian harbors.
And they could, here's the problem: is Trump is a deal maker. And there's a time in poker, you keep a poker face and you hold your cards and you're willing to walk away. And Zelensky doubled down. And the problem is he should have just dialed it down, shut up, and because they showed his press secretary, his Secretary of State was there. She had her hands down over her head, looking down like a woman crying like it's the end of the world, because she knows if Trump says no more support, it's over. He will lose everything.
How about Europe? Can Germany and France throw him a few bucks? I heard they gave him some loans.
They're not going to. It's a very risky business. If, like Trump said, if you go with us, you've got the cards, you've got a strong hand. If we don't do anything, you don't have the cards to negotiate. It's like your girlfriend going, okay, I want, it's like with Ambi, I want the house, I want the keys, I want, you pay for this, pay for that. It's like, you're not in charge. And he told him that. You're not in charge. And he wanted to run the show. And granted, was it aggressive? Was it, was Trump waving his penis in front of him? Yeah. He was saying, little man, you're not in charge. And the problem is Zelensky was used to, pushing Joe Biden and pushing the UK, going all over the world, and he was like a messiah, like he saved Ukraine. He was a very brave man. But the point is, there's a certain point where you run into the bigger bear, and you have to, out of respect, say, okay, it's going to go the way, if I want to win this situation, I need to go with this kid. He's going to lose.
Well, he did say on Fox News an hour later that the U.S. and Europe are my best friends. Like he had
to back it down because he's got to go back to his people, and his people are going, "You just killed us." Like this, his Secretary of State's got to say, "Oh well, we're working through this," and she knew it's like this is it's like it's like a girl saying, "Well, then the wedding's off," and she walks away, and the guy goes, "You just saved me $50,000."
But I do have a question.
Like, I own the apartment, I own the house, I've got the bank accounts. Go ahead and scream your little head off. We don't care.
First of all, if it was a deal that's sensitive and delicate, maybe they shouldn't have had the press there, because I'll tell you why. It was just one of him, and this is the third time that Vance has people say that he's been too, I wouldn't say showmanship, but he's been too hostile to foreign allies. This is the third time that he's shown up, Vance, and been very authoritative and even kind of dominating Donald Trump in that meeting. And I think it should have maybe started out as a private meeting, and then once they reached an agreement, they could have made a public appearance.
Well, they were mad at Vance because he went to Europe and he said, you've got a freedom of speech problem. But he's actually telling the truth. Germany will arrest you if you say any. They arrested people this week because they said things that the government didn't like. And it wasn't anything like revolutionary. It's just the government doesn't like you to say anything that criticizes them or has free thought. It's literally like the Soviet Union used to be.
Well, they were also mad at Vance for meeting with the head of the neo-Nazis.
Well,
that was in Germany.
Basically, they label things a certain way. Do you think that Vance is for the Nazis?
I don't know why he met with the neo-Nazis, but guess what happened to Vance this weekend? He went to Vermont
and they were at a ski resort, and people put up such a thing that they left with their family. They had to take them to an anonymous place.
It was Sugar Bush, Vermont, and the people were in the streets and they were yelling at him. And I guess he went to the ski slopes, but later on that night he had to change locations.
Well, here's the big problem. We're $36 trillion in debt, and we're facing bankruptcy. They have to trim this. This isn't a maybe. They have to shut this thing down. Not just Ukraine, the border, all this stuff, or we're going to collapse. We're going to have it like Venezuela or Germany before Hitler rose to power. It's not going to matter. This isn't a maybe. This is every 3 months we have $2 trillion of interest.
I don't mind them reducing the budget. I don't like the way Elon Musk is going about it.
Well, how else are you going to do it, though?
I think, it would take time. They don't have to do a news splash. They could go department to department like the Department of Interior and do a case study. Maybe, well, it might take 30 days, but just do it. Because in Yellowstone National Park, they cut a bunch of jobs and then they rehired 15 to 30 people because they realized it was a mistake. So it's better to go a little slower and then just achieve the designated results than to just do
Well,
a.
here's the problem. Donald Trump has 2 years to get this all done because what they're doing is every move he's doing, they're going to court and litigating. So that's going to tie things up a year and a half to two. And then by that time, none of his policies are going to go into effect. So we're just going to stay in the same funk. People can be very disappointed. They could go, we got high inflation. We got the borders are runaway. We got war in Ukraine. We got Hamas in Israel. It's a mess. They could go vote out these Republicans, get Democrats in. And it's going to be like his first 4 years the first time. Nothing's going to get done. Instead, he knew in advance. He put together his team, and the minute he was inaugurated, like boom, 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 shut down the border. 30 days, it's shut down. Hamas, Israel, stop that thing. Boom. Now we're going to Ukraine, Russia. Shut it down. And everyone that's not in his tornado path is going to get pushed to the side. He has to, because
I can understand the borders immediate, and that's important. But I don't think he can rebuild Gaza in 3.5 to 4 years.
No, but he's got to stop them from fighting and clear it out. And as long as they're there with Hamas, they can't resolve. But here's the problem. You realize this is a person. It's not just they attempted. He has 34 felony convictions. He had an assassination attempt where the Secret Service didn't do anything for half an hour.
I would like to know. I would like to know what you think about that. Do you think
Go ahead.
It was a young 18-year-old boy who crawled on a roof. Many citizens spotted him well before the FBI. Do you think they didn't think that young 18-year-old boy was going to really do anything harmful? Or what do you think the cause was?
Well, let's see. I'm going to do a speech, and have you looked at the layout? That is the most obvious. You're sitting there going, a roof that has a clear shot of the president to the side. That would be, and then there's a guy, a young man who they identified already. He's not CIA, he's not FBI, he's not Secret Service, he's not part of the security task force, and he's on the roof with a rifle. And he's identified. What would you do, Jane, if you're in charge of security, Secret Service?
Well, I know at least one citizen.
Ready? Go ahead.
One citizen told an off-duty police officer he's up there, so there should have been immediate action, and there wasn't.
You know what's supposed to happen? They're supposed to identify him, and they're supposed to they're supposed to have snipers on him, and then they're supposed to run someone up there and go, young man, put down your weapon. And if he doesn't put down his weapon, they're supposed to shoot him dead on the spot, correct? Instead, the shooter, the Secret Service or whoever was in charge of security, Secret Service, he's waiting for the shot order, like target in view, ready to proceed, and they said, stand back, stand by, hold. They saw it, they knew it, and they said, basically, don't do anything. Let the guy with the sniper thing take a shot at him. And this is why
What's the moral of the story, that the people in higher up positions wanted Trump dead?
Yes, that's come Trump wants Kash Patel in the FBI. He wants the CIA with Ratcliffe. He wants Tulsi Gabbard in the National Intelligence Agency. He wants Homeland Security, Christine. He wants his people. They go, well, they're not the most qualified. He wants people totally dedicated to the mission. In 1 to 2 years, if they're going to execute his plan, they're going to expose the CIA, JFK. 9/11, anything you can think of.
Martin Luther King.
The assassination attempt on Trump. like they haven't released any information on the sniper dude. Like, what was the history? You know, that's all just secret. All this stuff, Hillary, yes, Obama, yes, Biden, Hunter, and they'll go, well, it's all pardoned. It doesn't matter. They're going to investigate it and open it up because people are
Does
saying
he always have to go? Does he always have to go? I can understand Hillary, but why does he have to go as far back as the 60s? That didn't. That wasn't during his time.
Those files are locked. Why have they kept it secret for 60 years? Everyone's dead. They say it's national security. What is national security? It's our government. It's we the people, isn't it? Isn't it? Those are our records. We need to know who assassinated our president. Don't you want to know that?
Yes, I do. For JFK,
Don't we
at least.
have a right to? We pay their salaries, and the people we paid, they're dead. So now we have these new group of people. Why won't they open up those files to us? I need to know.
There's other stuff that's going around that people wanted to know about. I can't remember everything that Bianchi told me, but one of it involved the Black Panthers and the Martin Luther King type of stuff, and there was
Malcolm X, right?
There was more than the Kennedy brothers.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, I have good news and I have bad news. Okay, I have to start a new job at 8 a.m. and it's already 12:30 here. Plus, I have to go to the bathroom, and I think Don shut his phone down for the night because I told Pat I'm doing another show Monday, so he must have missed the memo to call back. But can you please do like a 5-minute conclusion so I may go to the bathroom in 5 minutes?
Oh, sure. One thing I can conclude is what did America lose by shutting down the Zelensky situation? We don't lose basically anything, to tell you the truth. Crimea, Ukraine, Kiev, they've been going back and forth. That is their border dispute. That is their world. That doesn't involve with Poland or Czechoslovakia or Romania or Europe or any of that. Putin did not expand beyond that. He was taking what he believes is his, whether right or wrong. That's their deal. And Zelensky, if he wants our support, he has it, but he's got to play. It's our money. It's our rules. And if he doesn't want to, he's gonna. The point is, Trump is showing as a person in control of the situation. He's not going to throw his money around. He's not going to get involved in other people's wars. He's going to let them figure that out, and he'll put a strong arm to end people dying. And the point is, there's so much pride and so much.
I did have a question though. I watched a documentary on the Sochi Olympics in 2014, and Putin, it was actually about a guy in the United States who defective, and it had to do with athletes that Russians pumped up illegally. But another part of the documentary was Putin decided right after those Olympics, like the closing ceremony, you know what I mean? Like a week later, he invaded the Ukraine. Why? Because he must have been on some kind of weird national high. But going from a peaceful exaltation of Russian pride to another invasion was really a bad choice.
True, but that's his war. That's Ukraine's war. That's not our war. You know the war at $185 billion. Do you know how much money that costs you?
Well, I know that I pay a lot of money in taxes. And because I'm collecting Social Security, I'll be paying $3,000 this year of my own money towards feds.
I'll make it simple. 130 million people will work in America. Every $7 times 100, that's basically about 900 and some million. It's short of a billion. So basically, actually about $8 gets you $1 billion. We've spent 185. So you do that, 185 times 8 is $1,400. It's cost you $1,400 or $1,500. this war, each person, if there's two people working, it's costing them almost $3,000. And if we go another 3 years, it's going to cost you another $3,000. Do you have $3,000 to pay up for a war?
I don't think the war should continue as is, with open combat and Russia bringing in North Koreans. People are losing lives over a stalemate war, and it's okay. Finish your thought. Finish your thought. I gotta go to the bathroom. Just keep talking. Be right back.
Okay. We did not have long-range missiles in this battle. And before Joe Biden left, he authorized giving long-range missiles. So it's like leaving a fight and dropping off a couple of guns for people to start fighting with. The long-range missiles need us to use the codes to launch them, which means we would be launching missiles at Russia, which would lead to them wanting to defend themselves with missiles back. But since we're sending them, it's like we would be the next target. And again, as North Koreans are killed, they hate America. They will want to kill America. So all we're doing is engaging in what's called World War III. It is. Things happen that way. And people get, like with the press conference, people get excited, people get upset, pride sets in, and then shots start firing verbally. You start sending long-range missiles into Russia, you could very easily escalate into World War III.
I do have a question, though. If Trump...
do you understand that logic? We haven't sent missiles into Russia. Biden, before he left, said, here's some missiles. Do something with it. Once they start shooting missiles into Russia, they will respond in like... Can you see how it could escalate into with North Koreans? They're getting blown up.
I wanted to respond to what you said.
Oh, yeah.
For example, let's say the tension between Trump and Europe gets worse. Do you think Europeans such as England or Germany or France would participate and contribute soldiers on the Ukrainian side? B, do you think that if there's going to become a new ground war and Trump keeps siding with Russia, then we are now allies with Iran and China because that's who Russians' allies are? Like, how about the alliances? Well, how is that going to play out?
Well, I think Europe will get very tired very quickly of like trying to defend and finance Ukraine, or any of these proxy wars that just go on and on. Like, did Vietnam work out for us? No. Did the Korean War work out for us? No. How about the Iraq war? How did that work out for us?
Well, I heard that certain parts of Iraq are becoming more successful economically, but overall, you cannot go into a Muslim country and change their values, basically.
We destroyed those countries. We destroyed, Gaddafi and in Libya, and it made a disaster. And we spent money, just destroying countries. It doesn't work. So the question is, what do we want to achieve? Is to beat Putin? How are we going to do that?
I have a question. What does Russia want out of this whole thing? Are they just going to keep sacrificing and sacrificing? Can't they make it on their own? They're a very large country. They must have resources somewhere. So why do they have to keep having the need to expand?
Well, why has Russia and Ukraine fought for the last 2,000 years? Why?
Part of it is identity. Kyiv used to be the capital of all of Russia. Secondly, the Ukrainians were the breadbasket of the world. They even supplied bread products to India and other faraway places like Africa. And third of all, I don't know whose idea was it specifically to go join the EU, but I think Zelensky wanted some kind of protection from Russian aggression, and he thought it was a safe bet to go with the EU.
Right. So he came to us and other countries and said, hey, I have a fight here that's gone on for 2,000 years or 1,000 years easily. And millions of people, over 1.5 million people are going to die and more. And you're going to spend, I want every American that works, I want you to give me a couple $1,000. Do we want that?
I don't think anybody wants any extra problems. And like you said, America's in trillions of debt.
I mean, I could see if we could beat them and take, like this is us versus, the Palestinians, or you put down a small country, you go, then that's what Trump does. A small country goes, listen, shut up or I'm going to blow you up. He doesn't say that to Russia. He doesn't say that to China. He says it to Iran, like they'll be held to pay, right? Because he knows he can nuke them. So in other words, he brings a hammer when he knows it can work. He doesn't bring a hammer to someone that can do collateral damage. You go, okay, he's a great guy. He's an amazing leader. Whatever, he'll puff him up because he wants to. That's diplomatic. He wants to be their buddy. And not to be their friend, but so that way he can negotiate with them. He told me, he said, don't you want peace? Isn't it interesting now? The press flips it. He said, don't you want peace? Don't you want the bullets to stop flying and the bodies to stop dropping? That's a very logical, and he said, come back when you want peace. Like, you want to let's make a deal. Let's end it. He could have ended it right now, but he didn't want to give up minerals. He didn't want to. He didn't want to be cut off with getting another $100 billion or $50 billion or even $10 billion.
Do the Ukrainians have enough geologists and engineers to mine those rare minerals themselves?
We'd have to send our people over there, and that was the security. Trump was saying, if we're over there, Putin's not going to mess with that because we have a contract. We have skin in the game. As it is now, we're just giving them money.
I understand your point, and it's calmed me down a little. I mainly didn't like the exchange of language between all three leaders.
You hate his personality.
It was very brutal.
That's fine. But, I love his policy. And guess what? His personality pushes it through. Zelensky's going to have to back him. It's like a guy at the table who has all the cards. You can yell and scream and kick and whatever. At the end of the day, he's I win.
Zelensky said, I don't want to play cards.
I know. and Trump is saying, you are playing cards, except you're playing cards with World War III and with the lives of your people. What happens to people? He's going to go back there and they're going to go, you want us to keep fighting? You could have had a ceasefire. No one else needs to. The parents of these kids, my son doesn't have to die today. Screw the land. It's like we can keep what we have here. Did we lose something over there? Yes, we did. But guess what? We walk away, right? And they're going to go, let's get him out of here. Let's get another guy. It's like Hitler. Like Hitler was at a point, I'm going into Russia, and I'm going to take it, and it's winter. You're on two fronts. Why are you doing it?
I do have one last point. Zelensky he's a Jew, and both of his grandparents were killed in World War II. And one of his father or somebody in that generation was some kind of computer type wizard. He came from an upstanding family of pride. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because a lot of people forget that he's Jewish.
And a lot of Jews, he stole and killed a lot of Jews in Ukraine, in that area. And the point is, Zelensky has a genius and has a bravado that's worked. And there's a certain point in any situation You know how in college basketball, like Gonzaga and some of these small, universities, they get into the Final Four, and they're up against UCLA or Indiana or some powerhouse, and they lose, and you go, they just they were too small, too not enough talent pool. These other teams are stacked. The point is, he's made a great run through Biden and through the UK and through all these places, and now he's up in a situation to keep going. He's got to deal with Trump, and there's a certain point you go, you're a small college team.
He's sandwiched in the middle.
And it's like, the smart move is to fold. And like Hitler, he's going into Russia, right? In the middle of winter, it's like, you're not going to win. And the general starts saying, you're crazy. We gotta kill him or get him out. And they're not gonna kill him because he's a hero. They're just he needs to resign. He needs to fold. Or he just needs to say, you know what? I've done some careful thinking, and let's just cut our losses here and do season. He wants to get the land back that he lost. He wants to be NATO status, and he wants to have money coming in, and he doesn't want to give up mineral rights. And Trump is saying, you don't have that hand. It's not going to. Putin's not going to give up the land. We're going to have to go in there with nukes or something, or soldiers, and big tanks and stuff. And that's what he's saying. To win, you're going to have to do World War III. Otherwise, you're just spending money. It's just it's a poop show, right? They're not winning. He's saying, Ukraine is just losing people.
Okay,
I stand still, except they're losing. They're bleeding out.
I agree with all the several points that you say. I just want to throw one last thing in before we end the show. Oleksandr, Oleksandr, Smenovich, Zelensky, the dad, is a Ukrainian mining scientist and mathematician who specializes in the automation of geological and surveying support. He is a professor and a doctor of technical sciences. Zelensky has been the head of the Kyiv Ries State University, where his son was born, and in the Department of Cybernetics and Computing Hardware since 1995. So I was just saying that this guy has a strong background in geology, minerals, and computers. But I do understand your point about the end game. I never thought about it before, that Zelensky is sandwiched between Trump and Putin, and he does have a upward battle, so to speak.
Yeah, the biggest problem is you have to know when you go into war. You read the scripture. It says, a man must count the cost. A king must count the cost where he goes into battle. Or they'll say he couldn't finish what he started. So the problem is, it's easy to say Putin is evil, so we have to stop him, and we have to support Zelensky because that's democracy. But in the big picture, you have to say, is he going to beat Putin? He's not. How is he going to beat Putin? We're going to have to start dropping some nukes. We're going to have to start bringing our troops in there with big tanks and big.
There's one final question. When is Putin going to drop dead?
Oh, they'll have someone else replace him.
But he won't be like Putin. Like when Putin dies, it's going to be a big game changer.
Remember when Trump was president, there was a time when Putin's hands were shaking and they said, he's got terminal cancer and he'll be dead in 2 years and don't even worry about him. And he's still around. Or maybe they cloned him. Maybe it's a different guy.
He's been in power over 30 years, to my understanding. I don't have the exact figures. But with that, I'm going to end the show. I'll tell you why. I lost my Social Security card, and I need to find it by morning for my new job. And I forgot my toilet paper in the car, so I have to end the show.
Well, I hope you find at least the toilet paper. For sure.
Thank you for being energetic after your dog walking, and boy.
Bye, Jane. God bless America.
I'll tell Don you did a good job in segment 2. And I I love when you call the show, even though we fight about other things. So God bless you, and thank you for being my friend.
Oh, God bless you, Jane. Your fuzzy warm heart, and good luck with your new job tomorrow.
And pray for Suzette, because I don't know where she is.
Oh yeah, she's a honey.
She was abducted by aliens of some sort. Okay, I'll let you go. Okay, bye.
Okay,
Bye.
boy.
We're ending the show. John did shed some light on certain elements of Zelensky's political position. I don't see an end in sight, but I do see people want to be on the right side of history and support him. However, I'm not sure how the outcome is going to turn out. Let's just pray the Ukrainian people find peace and dignity. Thank you.